All right, everyone. Okay, Hannah, move out of the way so that. Yeah, we got one more guy in the back. All right. Okay. What comes to mind when you hear the word chocolate? A Hershey bar? Valentine's Day? How about child slavery in West Africa? This subject is something that has piqued my interest for over a year now and was introduced to me by my geography professor last spring during our unit on Africa. We completed an extensive amount of work relating to this problem. Child labor in West Africa is one of the worst remaining politically tolerated forms of slavery remaining in the world today. The first question most people ask is why? Cocoa is a huge industry, and almost 70% of the cocoa beans grown in the world come out of Ghana and the Ivory Coast, according to the Food Empowerment Project. These cocoa beans are then sold to massive chocolate companies like Mars, Nestle, and Hershey. Although thousands of these cocoa pods are produced out of these countries every year, the majority of them are grown for export. This means that most of the children forced to harvest these cocoa pods have never even seen or tasted a chocolate bar. Cocoa farmers use child labor to keep their costs down. On average, cocoa farmers only earn $2 a day. This results in them employing child laborers and serious violations of international labor laws. The export of cocoa beans supports the Ivory Coast economy, but the children of this country are the ones paying for it. There are two major human rights violations that are at the root of this problem. Children are suffering as a result of this practice. Many of these children are kidnapped or even trafficked by their own family members for money. Sometimes traffickers will even travel to nearby countries Mali and Burkina Faso and kidnap children from young developing villages. Unfortunately, most of these children will never see their families again. These children are working in incredibly dangerous conditions. Ages range from 16 all the way down to 5 of children that are sent out into the forest carrying machetes and chainsaws. After clearing brush, they are forced to climb the trees, retrieve cocoa pods, and bring them back down to the ground. They then have to split the cocoa pods open by hand with machetes. Unfortunately, this often results in injury, and many children are left with lacerations, scars, and even in some cases amputation as a result from the dangerous tools that this profession requires. In addition to the dangerous tools, there is also a significant amount of exposure to dangerous agricultural pesticides in these forests. Although child labor helps keep production costs down, many of the children are forced to work against their will in an incredibly dangerous environment. Luckily, companies and individuals have recognized this problem and are working to solve it. Activist organizations like the International Labor Rights Forum have worked to raise awareness of this issue. Documentaries like CNN's Cocoa Economics and The Dark Side of Chocolate have provided mass exposure for the problem. Corporate giants are also working to improve these conditions. According to CNN, Hershey recently pledged to donate $10 million to educate cocoa farmers and help improve living conditions of their workers. In addition to this, according to the Daily News, Mars has also pledged to end child slavery in all of their factories by 2020 and produce only 100% certified child labor-free chocolate. Human rights organizations and chocolate production companies are slowly mobilizing to combat this problem. In review, child labor in West Africa is a barbaric and controversial practice. Cocoa production is a gigantic industry that is causing many children in West African countries to suffer. Fortunately, many organizations and major manufacturers are mobilizing to combat these problems. Although we may not think of forced child labor when we eat a chocolate bar, learning about this problem is the first step to fixing it. Through continually raising awareness about this issue and pressuring big business to raise their standards, we can all help to stamp out one of the worst forms of slave labor remaining in the world today. Thank you. All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Yep.